Right now, leader of the SNP, First Minister. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Mr. Swinney. I just wonder, first of all, if you could pick up on the timing issue, the general election, the announcement yesterday. What did you make of that?
Obviously, the election's been called sooner than people expected, and as your reporter said, it will happen once the Scottish the school holidays have started in Scotland. So what that means is that people have got to be organised. If they're going away on holiday, they've got to be ready to get a postal vote arranged so that they can exercise their democratic choice in this election. Obviously, my campaign teams around the country will be making sure that our supporters are encouraged to get a postal vote if they're going to be away on holiday.
Are you fully prepared as we speak this morning on day one?
Yes, we've got all our 57 candidates in place. Our manifesto is well advanced. We are hitting the road today to start the election campaign, so we're ready to go, and I'll be out and about around the country. I intend to take my message to every part of the country. I'm the First Minister of all of Scotland, and I intend to be present in every part of Scotland, taking a positive message about the fact that Westminster has inflicted significant damage on the people of Scotland through austerity, Brexit and the cost of living crisis. And the way out of that is for Scotland to be a country that takes our own decisions as an independent country. And people know that they can rely on the SNP to put Scotland first, and that's what will be central to our election campaign.
So you mentioned independence there. How high in the priorities as you're campaigning will that be? Is that front and centre of the offering to voters this time?
My message is very clear. There's been some really damaging things inflicted on Scotland by the Westminster system in the last few years. Austerity, 14 years of austerity. We've had Brexit that we never voted for in Scotland, and we've had a cost of living crisis. They've all been inflicted in Scotland by Westminster. And if we want to stop these things happening, if we want to be in control of our own future, we can only do that through independence. And independence will only come about if people vote for the SNP, because they know they can rely on the SNP, they can depend on the SNP, and they can depend on me to put Scotland first. And that's going to be the core of our message.
You'll be well aware of the criticism of your party around issues like health. One of the key issues, anyone watching this will know that it's one of the core issues, and your party has come in for a great deal of criticism about your track record in relation to that. Does that make your message harder, because people may look at you and say, why do we want more of the same?
Well, let's have a look at that issue. If you look at accident and emergency performance, Scotland's got the best accident and emergency performance of any health service in the United Kingdom consistently for a 9-year period. So yes, it's tough in the health service, I accept that, but that's because of Westminster austerity. That is making it more difficult. Westminster austerity plus the loss of key health service staff because of Brexit, and we've lost lots of people who went back to Europe because of the loss of free movement. That's Westminster inflicting these difficulties on Scotland. But when you come down to core accident and emergency performance, Scotland outperforms every other part of the United Kingdom. So that's a record I'm very happy to talk about with the public. I know there's challenges in the health service, but they're challenges created by foolish decisions made at Westminster about austerity and Brexit. And the way out of that for Scotland is to take control of our own affairs, to put Scotland first, and put Scotland in the driving seat.
Well, we are, of course, day one of this election campaign, and the things you're saying will come under increased scrutiny throughout the campaign, quite rightly too. When we were talking to Katie, our reporter, a moment ago, she was talking about Labour in Scotland. How clearly and how great do you see that as your primary risk?
Obviously, the SNP's had a pretty tough time over the last 12 months or so, and I'm just into the party leadership. I've been SNP leader for about 2.5 weeks. I'm obviously bringing fresh leadership to the party. I've brought the party together already. The SNP is a united political party. We're uniting to lead Scotland, and we're uniting to campaign for Scottish independence. So I've brought my party back together again in 2 very short weeks, and I'm now going to use that unity to take a positive message around the country to say to people, if they want Scotland to be protected from foolish and foolhardy decisions in Westminster like austerity and Brexit and the cost of living crisis, then all they can do is vote SNP to protect Scotland. And that message, I think, will resonate to people the length and breadth of the country. Now, we've got challenges in this election campaign. I accept that. The opinion polls are, in some polls we're behind the Labour Party, in others it's pretty narrow. So we're going to be going out there to win leadership in Scotland, and that's going to be at the heart of our campaign.
Now, one of the key issues, and a lot of parties are using this emblem of change. Now, you're in a curious position because you yourself, I know you're not new to the SNP, but as a leader, you are new. You referenced that yourself a moment ago. And yet you are, in a way, continuity, because the SNP has been in charge for a long time. So there's a trick there between you presenting yourself as something different, whilst at the same time people knowing full well that the SNP has been pulling the levers for a very long time in Scotland.
Yes, and there's very good things have happened in Scotland in the years of SNP government. Early learning and childcare provision has more than doubled in Scotland since we came to power. I've talked about accident emergency performance, where we've outperformed the UK for other parts of the UK for 9 years. We've got measures in place which are keeping 100,000 children out of poverty, and they're only available in Scotland. So there's lots of things I think the SNP's got to be proud of. But I think what's also clear is that the SNP's got fresh and new leadership, and I intend to take that message around the country, demonstrating that the SNP's moved on, that we're united, and that we're able to speak up for Scotland and to put Scotland first, and that's exactly what we're going to do in this election.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. There is a long time ahead. We've got 5 weeks. I'm sure we will talk again. Thank you for the moment.
Thank you.